Okay, guys, say hello to the cringiest character I've ever made. Clown General, okay? The Striker. And no, I don't have any kind of personal fetish with, like, the Joker and Batman. I actually hate that. So, this guy has been made so that he could be as cringe as possible. Why? Well, it's because it's my personal belief that outside of the Striker, there are only maybe 3 at best classes that are more just horrible to play against, cringe to play against in PvP in Lost Ark. If I could really nail it down, I would say it's Gunslinger / Deadeye. I'm putting them together. They're very, very similar. Soulfist and Deathblade. Just all of those 3, or you could say 4, are pretty horrible to play against. And if you have somebody who is, you know, equally skilled to you, you will always lose. It's 100% zero matchup in a lot of different matchups. Now, the Striker is kind of the noob's version of that. And what do I mean by that? Well, the Striker beats most classes if you achieve a certain skill level with it, and it does create a lot of 100 to 0 matchups. When I say 100 to 0, what I mean is that you have a 100% chance of winning, 0% chance of losing. Striker has those matchups, but how do you acquire them? Well, I've been trying to build a Striker. It's the 3rd class I've picked up so far for PvP, besides the Berserker and the Paladin that I've done videos for in the past. And, of course, as I tend to do, I try to build these things myself by actually playing it out in PvP, seeing what works and what doesn't, not spoiling my mind by looking at other people's guides first, because then I might miss out on something that could potentially be better, and then I try to come up with the best version of the class to me. That is the version that I'm going to show you guys. In this video, we're going to be going over all the different ways to play Striker efficiently, and all in less than 1 day of playtime, because the Striker can be pretty nutty if you just pick the right abilities. So let's jump right into it. First of all, what abilities did I end up with? So throughout this video, you're going to see a bunch of different iterations, but they all tend to stay true to 4 or 5 different abilities with only a few ways to interchange what you take. In my opinion, you should always go with a build that looks very similar to what I've got right now. For your choice of ultimate in PvP, you have 2 choices, Nova Blast and True Heavenly Awakening. I've tried both of these, and let me basically tell you what I figured out. True Heavenly Awakening is going to basically have you kick in a straight line, and it does hit twice, which is nice because the first hit can CC somebody and set them up for the second hit, and that tends to be what you want to do. What I've noticed, though, is like many of the just straight line skill shots that we have in the ultimate category, like the Berserker one as well, they can be very, very difficult to land, and not just because you might not be good, but because your opponent might just be good. You know, remember, there's going to be a certain skill level where even the good player is going to miss their abilities against the other good player, because that's what makes you good. It's not getting hit by really easy to dodge skill shots. So I've seen a lot of guys using Nova Blast, and the reason I think I see people use Nova Blast is for the same reason that people use the Chain ability ultimate for the Berserker, and that's that it's easier to land, and you want to easily land these things, I think, in PvP, just to get that damage off. If you miss your ultimate and your opponent doesn't, you're gonna lose a lot of the time, assuming equal skill in many cases, right? So what is Nova Blast? Well, first of all, it lets you advance 4 meters forward, and you strike 4 times. But if you miss the first attack, the next 3 don't go off. But the way this works is that you have push immunity in PvP. That's really, really good. And the ability is going to stagger your opponent as well. So if you land the first hit, you're almost guaranteed to land every other hit, and it's going to hit for absolutely ridiculous damage. We're looking something around 30% of their HP is what you can kind of expect regularly from Nova Blast. And so that's what I went with. Now, what I've noticed about the Striker is that you lack immunity to a variety of different types of CC in comparison to a lot of other good classes. You know, like Deathblade, for example, can literally do whatever it wants. Deathblade has a lot of immunity. Deathblade has a lot of CC, hard CC. They land 1 bit of CC, and you literally can't play your character for 5 seconds straight while they CC and do damage to you some more. Striker is almost there. It just lacks a lot of the things that things like Deathblade have that really push it over the edge. That's why I think it's a pretty good 1v1 class. So if you look at my abilities, you'll see Lightning Kick has no immunity. You'll see Moonflash Kick has nothing. I'm using Storm Dragon Awakening. That has nothing at all. Sleeping Ascent Celebration has paralysis immunity. It's a low tier immunity, but it does work a lot. That's going to be a way that you open. Swift Wind Kick has paralysis immunity, so this is another thing that you can try to guarantee getting off to start, you know, your combos, right? And so you're always going to want to start your combos, from what I can tell, with something that has paralysis or push immunity with this class. That way you can guarantee it goes off. Now, next we have Phoenix Advent, also has paralysis immunity. We'll get to why this is important, but this is going to be one of your best abilities. Sweeping kick, which has nothing. And then with our esoteric skill, we have lightning tiger strike. From what I can see, nobody uses anything different. I even really thought about these other abilities, and I think they're just probably not very good. Because here's the thing. Lightning tiger strike strikes twice, gives you push immunity, so it's basically guaranteed to go off, and it does pretty big damage as well. And if you land it twice, which is very easy to do with just a little bit of practice, it really does win games, and it pops up a lot. Now, before I go into exactly what I chose for my abilities, I want to just give some honorable mentions because there are a lot of good strikers out there. Many of them are better than me, and I want to tell you what I've seen them use. It's not that different, though. I've seen a lot of Berserk Circle in some cases with Glacial Explosion, so another freeze effect. We'll get into why freeze effect is good when we talk about Phoenix Advent. So that's an option. It smacks the ground, does damage in a circle around you. You might see it in some of the clips where I was testing it out, and in this case, if you take Glacial Explosion, you'll get a freeze effect as well. I've seen some Violent Tiger, which is an interesting one. You kick twice. It has a stagger effect, but no immunity on it. And I've seen some Sky Shattering Blow as well to try to set people up to be in the air for long periods of time. But really, the only other ability that I've really seen a lot of is Lightning Whisper. And this just does some damage once again in our AoE radius around you. It, applies some debuffs to your opponent. But once again, it has no immunity. I went with what I went with because everything you'll notice gives me massive amounts of mobility. And what I've learned is that to be a good striker, you need to be able to move in, do what you got to do, and move out. If you get caught, you will die to a lot of classes you shouldn't die to. So it's really just understanding the play style. With Lightning Kick, I took Sharp Movement, Thunder Kick, and Heaven's Lightning. With Moonflash Kick, we take Intense Shock, excellent mobility, and I go for the Full Moon Kick. This changes this, by the way, to where you charge forward, slide, and kick, right? And you do a lot more damage as well, so it's more mobility. Storm Dragon Awakening, this is going to be your main way to keep people in the air. Essentially what happens is you kick them, and then you knock them into the air. If they're in the air, you can attack them again to launch them back into the air, and then you can keep doing this combo, where even if, you could actually use Storm Dragon Awakening, and then use another ability that keeps them in the air, and then chain it with a Storm Dragon Awakening again, and then use another ability which keeps them in the air, and that's the point of Striker. You're perma knocking them up, right? So push immunity is hell. It's hell on earth for Striker, and that's why I personally enjoy the Berserker matchup when I'm the Berserker. Sleeping Ascent Celebration, we take the Spiral Kick, we take the Quick Prep, and then I go for the Leaf Sweep, and this changes it to where you kind of slide, and then you attack in a 360 radius and knock people down. It's really, really good just for interrupting casts and stuff like that. We take the Swift Wind Kick almost exclusively for that paralysis immunity, but it's also pretty good CC. We take it with the Water Round Kick to reduce movement speed on your opponent. Swift Footwork, so that you can chain through things a little bit faster. And I go with the Furious Spin Axis as well, which allows you to jump up diagonally, perform 4 spinning kicks, and slam people down. And it just works quite well. Now the Phoenix Advent, we have Wide Hit to guarantee it goes off. Freeze Effect for a 2-second freeze. So what you want to do is Phoenix Advent, you'll see this a lot, freeze your target and then begin. And then we have Nimble Movement, so that we can once again chain through things a bit faster. My Sweeping Kick was just for an extra bit of CC. We put our remaining 4 points in it, right? And the first hit is going to paralyze my foes and knock them back, no longer knocking them down, and I like that. And lastly, we have Lightning Tiger Strike with single hit. If we attack one guy, which in team elimination we always will, it does 15% more damage. Tenacity for push immunity, and I take Consecutive Kick to use it more than once, and that's the bread and butter of the build. So what I want to do for you guys now, I want to show you guys exactly how I've been playing Clown General. I really do think this is a clown class, but only at certain skill levels. I think, once again, Deathblade, Gunslinger, Deadeye, and even good Soulfists, like, they're just so far above everybody else, it's not even funny. But Striker can still be good, and I think especially in the middle MMRs, low MMR for sure, this is a class that slaughters everybody. I don't think it's such a bad tier class like people tend to put on their tier lists. I think it's a lot better than a lot of people think, but you can't suck, and I don't even think I'm at peak potential, and I don't know if I'll ever get there. I've seen some crazy good strikers, but I'm pretty decent right off the bat. I think I figured out the combos, because really what this game is figuring out the right abilities and then comboing and CCing people to where they can't play back. That unfortunately tends to be how it works in this game, right? If you can prevent your opponent from attacking you and you can attack them, you are going to win. And so good players just master how to do that, and I'm going to show you how to do it real quick with the Striker. Alright, let's just jump into a game. Whatever happens, happens. And let's see, lots of tier 1s in this one, sadly. I've got a Berserker and a Deadeye. They've got a Soulfist, and if he's good, that's really sad. A Gunslinger and a Deathblade, so nothing but like tier 1 on their side. And then we've got potentially one really good guy with the Deadeye. If we're just going off class alone, okay, skill could be wild. And I guess I'm going first, so we'll see how I do. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of disappointing. You know, I don't typically show these types of fights, but I did just want to go into it, and I like to put some honesty in my fights. What basically happened there? Well, I played against a Soulfist, and luckily I was just barely better than this guy, because he didn't even know what I had immunity to. You can tell from the chat. If he did know, he would have easily beaten me. But you can see what I mean with the Soulfist, right? He didn't land a lot. He barely attacked me compared to what I did to him. He barely had to click his keybinds compared to what I had to click, and yet he was able to do almost as much damage as me with very little. It's very reminiscent of the Zerker, right? The Zerker has a bunch of slow abilities, though, and that's what's supposed to kind of make up for it, is the fact that it has high damage. The Soulfist just has crazy high damage single target abilities, right? Very, very good. Let's see if maybe this guy, the Berserker, is going to 1v2 at the end. The Gunslinger matchup was a good one for him. The Deathblade one is not. I really do think he's going to get destroyed without doing almost any damage to the Deathblade. This is good, because we're in higher MMR right now. I mean, the lowest guy is theoretically the Deathblade, but he's playing what is probably the best class. Although I've heard people say, no, it's Gunslinger, it's Deadeye. Those are the best classes. I like to talk solely about 1v1. I think Deathblade, it's close to me. It's just close. I don't know. Maybe they're right, but I don't know. It seems like Deathblade might be one of the, if not the literal best, though. There's no way the Zerker can win. He can't actually do anything against the guy he's fighting against right now. You can see what the Deathblade essentially does is sets everything up with freezes and stuns. And if I'm honest with you, the fact that this Deathblade has taken damage at all is, you know, it says a lot, right? He's only grade 4, okay? So that needs to be kept in mind. This guy should have been dead a long time ago, right? Okay, so there's that. The Deadeye should swamp the Deathblade at the end, though. He is tier 1. He has more games played, I'm assuming. It's not for sure, because you can Vern past somebody and keep your rank. Alright, there's the stun. See, they all have one thing in common, by the way. All of the classes in, like, the top, like, S-tier rank, their main commonality is that they can CC you with one ability for a really long period of time, and then proceed to chain it into other extremely high damaging and CC-based abilities, and then just run away. That seems to be the running theme that I'm noticing. And it all seems to start with a freeze or a stun, right? That high tier CC. Yeah, this guy's dead. right here. Yeah, okay, so that's that. At least we won. I'll definitely take it. Let's see how much damage I did to this Soulfist, though. That was a tough fight. I'm just lucky he didn't understand that I have push immunity on my esoteric skill. I think that's what he was complaining about. 132,000. So I did second best damage, right? Only the guy that had a lot more uptime on different people had more damage than me. I'll take that.
Big time. Go!
Talk about a 1v3, dude. That one I'm pretty proud of. That's all tier 1s, my friends. Look at the damage there. That is it. Now, luckily, the Deathblade I was up against seemingly was just doing it against the meta build. Listen, these classes and all of my talk, right, it has entirely everything to do with picking the right build. And what makes things like Deadeye and Deathblade and Gunslinger good is knowing the right abilities that do the perma CC setups and then follow it up with burst and then give you the mobility to run. And it's very specific, I'm not going to lie, and that Deathblade did not do it right. Okay, and that's fine because we all have to try things, but I just wanted to explain that matchup. Now, the next two guys, that was just an outplay, right? Both of these people have the ability to beat me. I don't know the percentages on every matchup to heart yet. I think that's fair. I don't think anybody does, but I do feel like I could have lost to a good Pally. Because I've been Pally and won against pretty decent strikers. I've never really done the Sorceress game. I know Sorceress is super good against melee, though, but I also bodied the hell out of her at the end there, so what does that kind of say once you get to a certain skill level? But again, if I was worse, I think she would have absolutely destroyed me. So skill plays a huge part, and unfortunately, skill, and maybe fortunately actually as well, skill is so variable. You know, sometimes you just have a bad game, for example. Sometimes you're on a roll, and emotions play a huge part in who wins, because if you're on a high, especially if you're the first one to do well in the fight, in the 1v1, there's so much that goes into it. You know, tilt is basically what I was just describing there, but I don't know. I'm happy with the 1v3 there. I think actually that 1v3 alone was a wonderful example of what you can do with the striker if you take this build and you manage the CC the way that I did. So, okay, guys, that's the striker for you. It's truly a clown class, and I say that because to me a class that can perma CC you for 28 seconds straight just because you got hit one time and proceed to kill you in the process is a clown class, man. Just like old iterations of World of Warcraft's Rogue, or just like Lost Ark's version of Deadeye or Gunslinger or Deathblade when played and built right. What they aim to do is perma CC you and kill you along the way, just because you made one mistake, or maybe you didn't even, maybe they're just good. It's just one of those types of classes, right? If played right, Striker can do nutty things, and you can get to a skill level very fast with this class just by using this build and just practicing the repetition. And really what you want to practice is how quickly and how, not just quickly you play, but how quickly you think. You have to think to yourself. I know distinctly playing this class when I first started, and I didn't exactly know what ability should come next, especially if you don't know what your opponent has. You're gonna play slow and sluggish. So what I recommend is you just keep mashing buttons until you get it right, and you'll notice over time how things synergize and what works, because you got to go fast. But if you can master that speed, keep your distance, still go back in, set up your attacks with freezes and dodging their, you know, points of paralysis or pushback immunity, and then getting in there with one of your many gap closers, I think that you can do a lot of good. And think about it like this: I missed my ult, I think, every single time this video, except for when I was showing you guys how to play the classes and had pre-recorded clips. So you can do that and you can still play really well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. The Striker, ladies and gentlemen, like and subscribe. Mcdoubles out.